Alright, hello guys. Welcome back to another video where we talk about Caroline Deisler. She has been in a couple of my videos, not because I want to pick on her, but because you guys send me her stuff and go, hey, this was triggering, or hey, I'm confused by this. Can you chat about it? So you guys are asking me to make these videos. So here we go. Before we dive in, a quick synopsis on who Caroline Deisler is. Caroline is a vegan influencer. She has a YouTube channel, Instagram, I think is her kind of biggest thing. And she sells a lot of recipe ebooks, a lot of detoxes, resets, those type of things. Typical just kind of vegan fitness influencer. She does a lot of fitness stuff as well. She is super popular as far as her numbers go on Instagram and YouTube and everything. So she is quite the following, and she is quite adamant about the vegan diet and about eating tons and tons and tons of fruit and celery juice and just big bowls of watermelon and papaya, and you kind of get the gist. We've seen this once or twice before. But anyways, the other day, someone sent me this right here. It was a screenshot they took from one of her stories. And the person who sent it to me was like, oh, this aggravates me so much. And I'm like, it aggravates me so much as well. So the person asked, would you follow the resets till pregnant, thinking of the next year or so if I was? Her resets are completely vegan, tons and tons of fruit. It's a lot of, to be honest, it's just a lot of date balls and smoothies and fruit bowls with chia seeds. It's like that whole type of deal. So very kind of low calories, restrictive vegan diet here. And when I say restrictive vegan diet, all vegan diets are restrictive. That's kind of my point here. You're restricting a lot of foods when you are vegan. So Caroline responds, and this was the big shocker here that I was like, oh, we have to talk about this. She responds saying, yeah, totally, exclamation point. Like, oh my gosh, this is 1000% safe. Of course. I'm like, what? Okay. But she says, even while pregnant, this routine will make you feel amazing and so nourishing for you and your baby. And then she has a picture of a million just fruit emojis, blueberries, pineapple, watermelon, bananas, mango, avocado. She's got some potatoes in there, which is good. A little bit more substance. But right there being like, this is so nourishing for your body. And then just showing a bunch of fruit, I'm like, that's a yes. It's not like those foods are not nourishing, but you're growing a baby. You need more than just the nourishment that you'll get from fruit. Let's continue on before I dive into this. So she says, just make sure you have extra snacks and add in some of my sweet recipes, and always eat whenever you're hungry. I wouldn't do any kind of intermittent fasting, and always eat right away when you're hungry. So I am glad that she does mention hey, make sure that you're eating more, and that she mentions that she wouldn't do any intermittent fasting. And I'm really glad that she mentioned the intermittent fasting thing here of not doing that when you're pregnant. I'm going to reserve everything I'm going to say about the intermittent fasting and Caroline's intermittent fasting for kind of the end of this video, because I got other things to talk about first. So this was shocking because I went onto her website. Here, I'll put it up again. It's her 10-day spring reset, spring detox thing. And this is what she was saying was safe and okay for a pregnant woman to do. I think it's safe to say, and I would hope that a lot of us could just agree here, that, pregnancy, not the time to detox. It's not the time, the place, or the season of your life to be detoxing during pregnancy. Rather, quite the opposite. The year, maybe even 2 years leading up to pregnancy should be all about nourishment and building. Why? Because you are about to grow a baby, which requires the building phase. You should be really focusing on upping your nutrition, getting enough calories, making sure that you are really building your system up. So it's quite counterproductive here to be pregnant and to be in this phase where your body is using a lot of energy. It is quite demanding on the body to build a baby. I just still, you guys, it's kind of like, it's crazy in my mind, the idea that like women like have these full on humans in them. It's just like insane what their bodies can do. That is not the time to be on any sort of diet. Pregnancy will require you to really be intuitive with your food, to really be listening to what are your cravings, what are you really, really needing. And it's again, it's not the time to hop on a like 10-day spring reset. So right there, I'm like, Caroline, what are you saying? Like, this is totally, completely fine that you can do when you are pregnant. I just, it goes against just the natural season of life that a woman is in when she is, building a child. Building, growing. Maybe that's a better word. Building seems a little weird. She's growing a child. But in her reset here, there's 35 plus healthy vegan recipes. So it's all vegan food, which let's just stop right there and talk about that. Veganism and pregnancy. I want to pull up here on my computer. I was listening to Dr. Chris Kresser. I actually really like him. Dr. Chris Kresser was previously a macrobiotic vegan, and he was like heavily into the plant-based diet until his health started really, really deteriorating, and he really started diving into the understandings of the body and what we need nutritionally. And so now he speaks a lot about the dangers of plant-based diets and the nutrition you can be severely depleted in by eating that way. And so I found a podcast that Chris Kresser did, and it was really good. I'm going to link it down below if you guys want to listen to the whole things. But I do want to just kind of pinpoint some of the things that they said here. Dr. Chris says this period, the gestation period, they found that it permanently influences the wiring of the brain and the functioning of the organs like the heart, the liver, and the pancreas. It also suggests that the conditions encountered during pregnancy shape everything from our susceptibility to disease, to our appetite and metabolism, to our intelligence and temperament. There's some amazing research that is shown, and I cover this in the presentation, that has shown that babies that are born at a low birth rate, which is primarily determined by maternal nutrition, have a significantly higher risk for diseases like heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease. So I wanted to pause here and just first lay the foundation of nutrition is extraordinarily important in pregnancy. Like he's saying here, it has the ability to impact whether we have increased risk factors for heart disease, cancer, diabetes, hypertension, like all of these things, and that it will impact our intelligence, it will impact the functioning of all of our organs. Like, this is a big deal, okay? The reason why I wanted to lay down this foundation is because we have to just look at this scientifically, guys. Vegan diet lacking in so many things, B12 being one of them. And that's not just like, oh well, it's one of them, right? It's just B12. B12 is absolutely essential. Reading here on the American Pregnancy Association website, it says that vitamin B complex are particularly important aspects of your nutrition during pregnancy, especially vitamins B6, B9, and B12, only found in animal products. These three specifically help minimize the risk of birth defects as well as relieve some symptoms of pregnancy. And then it goes on to say B12 is important for maintaining the health of your nervous system, but it's also believed that when combined with folic acid during pregnancy, B12 can prevent spina bifida and other spinal and central nervous system birth defects in your baby too. You can find B12 in fish, poultry, eggs, milk, and you should aim for around 2.6 micrograms per day. And then it gives a whole list of the food that it's in. The grass-fed beef, it says yogurt, it says red meat, it says milk, cottage cheese, cod, wild salmon, shrimp. And it says again here, B12 is essential for babies' neural tube formation, brain and spine development, Together with B9, it works to produce DNA synthesis and red blood cells. It aids the development and functioning of your brain, nerves, and blood cells, helps improve your energy, mood, and stress levels by aiding the metabolization of fats, carbohydrates, and proteins, and it helps maintain the normal central nervous system and neurological functions by regulating the synthesis of myelin and fatty acids. And then the serious birth defects of not having enough B12 can include anencephaly, which is where the spinal cord and brain do not form properly, encephaly, which is parts of the brain begins to push out, and then spina bifida, which is the baby's spine does not form correctly. Are you going to risk that? This is just one example of the importance of making sure that you get enough nutrition, and one example of how that nutrition is just coming from animal products. You can pause and read this. This is just two more examples: choline and then also omega-3 fatty acids, and just how important those are in pregnancy. Just a reminder that the Get Your Flow On course is on sale for the whole month of June. You can get $400 off by using the discount codes that you will find below in the description box. Life is so much better with zero food restrictions, a strong metabolism, balanced hormones, and a healthier relationship with food. And the Get Your Flow On course is designed to get you to that place. If you have lost your period, if you are stuck in quasi-recovery, if you are stuck in this weird world of food obsession, then the Get Your Flow On course is for you. So again, make sure that you take advantage of the $400 off discount code that is found in the description box below. And so to go on this detox or to just be vegan during pregnancy is like, whoa, you are putting yourself and your baby at huge risk for abnormalities in you are putting your baby at huge risk for abnormalities and birth defects. That's not me saying this. That is, I can put up like 10, 15 different articles of doctors saying that, like, hey, this is dangerous. This is very dangerous. And here we have these Instagram influencers just being like, yeah, it's totally fine. I'm like, it's not totally fine. It doesn't mean that. So let's go back to Dr. Chris Kresser's podcast here. There was a section titled "The Biggest Factor Keeping Women from Getting Pregnant." And Danny asked, what do you think is like the number one thing that's keeping women from getting pregnant in this day and age? And then Danny asked, do you think chronic dieting can be a cause of this? He says, all the women in my life have always been so obsessed with dieting, and I know from my sisters, they've all lost their periods for an abnormal amount of time. And then when they started eating normally, it came back. Do you think that this is a big factor? And Dr. Chris Kresser says, absolutely, because one thing we know about chronic dieting is that it elevates cortisol levels. And then he says, this is a stressor on the body. So yes, chronic dieting is a problem. And if there's any time in our life when we need to be nourishing your body and making sure we're getting enough nutrients, it's preconception and pregnancy. So again, is this the time to be doing a 10-day detox? When it is the number one time that you need to be doubling down and focusing on your nutrition? I don't think so. So what I found really interesting about this is that if you dig into Caroline's kind of life a little bit, you'll see that she actually lost her period. And I thought it so interesting that she didn't tell people for years that she lost her period, because she said, quote,
I always thought like when people would know that I didn't have my period, they would judge or they would think what I'm doing is not healthy. So it was really, a bit scared to share it. But then
I didn't want people to think that my diet was unhealthy. This diet that I've made probably millions of dollars on, this diet that I promote as being the healthiest thing in the world, I lost my period while I was eating this way. I didn't want other people to just think that this was unhealthy. Well, newsflash, it is unhealthy if you lost your period. And so many vegan girls lose their period and they go, oh, this diet is so healthy, but I lost my period. I'm like,
pill about 5 years ago, and I was already vegan for almost a year back then, and then I just never got my period back.
That's not a but you lost your period, that's and you lost your period because this diet is not supportive enough for your fertility levels. And so I watched this whole video from Caroline talking about her getting her period back, and Whew, there's a lot of things I want to say about it. I have them written down here, so we're going to go through some of them. First off, Caroline said that she wasn't thinking much about her loss of period. She lost it for about 5 years. But once she got a bone density scan and it showed that she had low bone density, that's when she got really scared.
I went to get a bone test done when I saw that my hormones were very out of balance, and it really did not look good, and that made me very scared.
So, you're eating a vegan diet, you're not eating a lot of sources of bioavailable calcium. It kind of makes sense. You're going to have very low bone density, periods gone, all of that. She mentioned in the video that she was intermittent fasting.
Another thing I was doing is intermittent fasting, and I didn't change that as well. So I was doing intermittent fasting already back then, and I'm still doing it. And for me personally, it really fits into my lifestyle, and I didn't have to change that. A lot of people say like your body thinks you're starving, and then it's not ready to reproduce, basically, to have a functioning reproduction system, which makes sense totally. But a 16-hour fast is really not that crazy. So I personally I didn't change intermittent fasting.
So, Caroline acknowledges the fact that many people talking about HA recovery talk about how dangerous intermittent fasting can be and how it puts the body in the starvation response. But then she goes and she says, yeah, but it fits in my lifestyle. I want to do it. And 16 hours is not that long to fast. And I'm like, okay, you obviously have been restricting for way too long to think that 16 hours is not that big of a deal. It's a big deal. That's a lot of time. And if you have lost your period, you 1000% should not be doing intermittent fasting. And the thing is, and this is why I thought it was so interesting because she said in this story post here, like, don't intermittent fast if you're pregnant. But when she talks about getting her period back, she talked about her not stopping intermittent fasting. She said that she kept on doing it. Um, I Here's the thing that's hard here, guys. So this was one video that Caroline put out about her period. I don't know if she has had consistent regular periods after this. I don't know if this period was an ovulatory period or an anovulatory period, so she could have not ovulated doing it. I had a couple flukes. I had two flukes during my severe restriction days where I just like got a period, and thought that I was like better for a hot second, right? But then in reality, like that was just, I don't know, it was like the most random fluke. I think like, probably a little bit changed. My body just kind of like, whoa, okay, we're gonna just randomly cycle here. And so that could have happened too. But I think that this is like dangerous when she's saying stuff like, hey, so I actually I continued intermittent fasting. I continued eating this same diet. And I just like, she said she started like upping her fats a little bit and like, eating more avocado and then taking supplements. And I just like was cringing kind of the whole time doing this because I don't want other people to watch that and think like, oh, so I can recover my period while still being on a very low body weight. And Caroline talks about how she was like, I, was told by the doctors you need to gain weight to get your period back, but she was like, I didn't want to do it. I wanted to find another way. And I'm like, what other way? There is no other way. That is the way. Like you got to get your body up to a healthy body fat percentage.
And even though these changes weren't easy for me, because for someone who is coming from the modeling industry and I was used to being surrounded by super skinny girls, and I thought like being as thin is like something normal or admirable, or that's how you want to look. So it wasn't very easy for me to gain weight. But
and she was really, it sounds like kind of really, oh, I don't want to do it that way. And so I think that that's a very dangerous message that like, hey, I got my period back and guess what? I actually really didn't change any of my unhealthy behaviors to get my period back. And again, do we know if she actually got her period back? Do we know if she's been consistently getting her period? Do we know if she's actually fertile? That's all things that I would really question here. But she said that one of the things that she changed is that she started taking a bunch of supplements. And I just, oh, from my perspective, I'm like, just taking a bunch of supplements is not the way to nourish your body back to health. You need food. So she was saying she took a bunch of these vitamins, but I'm like, why aren't you getting your vitamins from your food? Oh, wait, you're eating a vegan diet and it's incomplete of nutrition, so you had to go to vitamins. But that's not a good solution here. Vitamins, first off, have their risk. I talk about it in my course. Not the best way to source your nutrition. It's not a way, I should say, to be nourished. Sure, maybe you can add some supplemental supplements to your nourishing diet, but you cannot eat a diet void of nutrition and just take supplements and expect that to be your saving grace. Long term, no, that's not going to work. There's something about just eating the food that has that nutrition that's super, super important. I think that's because the food naturally comes with a combination of the other vitamins and minerals that it needs to really digest and assimilate that specific vitamin. So I did a podcast a little while ago with Juliet Autumn titled, I have it here, Blind to the Depletion of the Vegan Diet After 11 Years of Eating That Way. And Juliet talks about her multiple pregnancies that she's had, one of them while she was vegan, and then the other two while she was eating everything. And she talks about the huge health implications that her daughter, which she had when she was vegan, the huge just health implications that her daughter has, that she associates with her lack of nutrition from eating a vegan diet while conceiving her and being pregnant with her. And she said that the daughter's health is way different from her son's health when she was eating meat during her whole pregnancy and breastfeeding and all of that. And it was really kind of sad to hear her story of like, yeah, my daughter's not as healthy as she should be. And look at what I was doing during that time. And so I don't want to make this too long. There's a lot more I can say about this whole video that Caroline did in terms of her talking about her journey to get her period back, but I'm going to save that for another video so that this one isn't like a million hours long. But I just want to finish off by saying that I would hope that, while you are pregnant and you are, growing a child, that you aren't being experimental with your diet and you aren't doing something like, gosh, I mean, I'm sure, let's just take someone who's on a regular diet, okay? Just regular diet. And then all of a sudden they're pregnant and they were like, okay, let's do this like detox thing. I can guarantee you that the amount of calories in this detox thing is going to be dramatically less than the amount of calories that they eat just eating chicken and rice and meat and all that stuff. And that right there, in and of itself, just from the lowered amount of calories, is like, whoa, big, big, big red flag. So I'd really hope that people aren't being experimental with their diet in such a huge way while they are pregnant. It is really not the time. It's really the time to be eating nutrient-dense foods. That's going to come from a lot of red meat, seafood, dairy products, and things like that. And so yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If there's any questions, please put them down below. If you're wanting to hear more like in specifics about like nutrition and everything from me, I talk about it in depth in my course, and so I don't like to just go over it here. I have slides, I have everything that I like in depth go through it there. I talk about the supplements, I talk about the importance of bioavailable nutrition. We dive into what that means. That's all in my course, and that's not something that I'm going to be putting up here on like YouTube or on my Instagram, just because of the in-depthness of that type of content. So you can click down below to take a look at my course. There is a June discount code, so if you're seeing this in June 2022, there's $400 off for the course right now. You can always hop on a payment plan to make it more affordable for you so that you can get the help you need to get through recovery. All right, please like this video, subscribe, comment what you learned down in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys in my next video.